Hello everyone, my name is Krystle Allen. This is my very first video. I'm brand new to the YouTube game, and so I'm here to give my review for Love and Marriage Huntville Season 4, Episode 1. It looks like it's going to be a lot, so let's get right into it. So they're sitting at dinner, and Tisha notices that he's in a good mood, and he thinks it's due to the trip that he took to Africa. And he says, by the way, I want to thank you for allowing me to go, knowing that I needed to go by myself. And Tisha's like, I wasn't on board, right? I wasn't on board. And he's like, I know, but I had to disconnect and I had to dismiss, and my phone don't work over there and we in a different time zone. And so she's like, well, I've never been to Africa either, and I would have liked to have gone with you. You didn't even ask if I wanted to go. And my thing is, if Tisha needed to go to Africa or to London, wherever she wanted to go, Marceau, you better let that woman go. Let her go. Don't just let it be you taking a trip and then when she want to go and dismiss and disconnect and all that kind of stuff. And, well, babe, you got responsibility here at the house, and a woman shouldn't be going by herself. I don't want to hear that. I would not want to hear that. And so he goes on to say that he's been feeling the pressures of work and COVID and all this kind of stuff, and he's been feeling depressed. And then he stops himself and he says, no, more so depleted. And really, I want you, Marcel, I want you to take the word depressed out of your vocabulary. That's what got you in trouble last season, by saying that you were depressed. You just threw that word out there, and then you had people actually worried about you. I wasn't, but you had people actually concerned about you being depressed. That was not the case with you, Marcel. You were not depressed. Because when they tried to offer the help or try to talk to you about it, you got a little dismissive. And so he says, going to a whole nother country, and all this kind of stuff makes him reevaluate and to value his family and his life. It took you going to a whole nother country to value your life and your wife and all that good stuff that you have right there in front of your face. I guess, different experiences work for different people and things like that, but I kind of think the show should have showed you, what was more important. You work very hard, and I'm not mad at it. Do what you got to do to provide for your family. Do what you got to do to live this lifestyle that you want. But at the same time, when your wife has been pleading and begging and wanting to spend time with you, that should have showed you. And so then he goes on to say, I would like to get a chief of staff or a personal assistant. And Tisha's like, okay, well, do you care about the sex of this person? And so he's like, well, I'm not going to get a man. You could just stop that right there. I'm not going to get a man. And he was very adamant about that too. And so, well, if you do get a woman, she got to be approved by me. Okay, Tisha. And Tisha's like, listen, I'm not asking your permission to do this. I am going to do it. Point blank and the period. And she can't be no little teeny bopper. That's not what she said, but she said, can't be no young person. She got to be older. And so he's like, well, I guess you've been reading the comments. And she's like, what comments? And she's like, now, first of all, you are so messy. You so messy because you posted that picture. You posted that picture of the guy's Atlanta trip with Reese in it. And he's like, what's wrong with that? You so messy. Marcel, you know what you're doing. I'm going to be like Tisha. You messy. You so messy. And you are messy. So then Tisha wants to give this rundown of what old girl, and we know who old girl is, about what she's been doing since the reunion and since he has posted the picture. And Marcel, you could see in his face that he's getting annoyed. And he says, Tisha, stop. Stop. And she's like, okay. But babe, did you hear? No. Like, girl, shut up. Your man told you to stop. Because then, see, later on, you're going to be talking about some, babe, why you didn't tell me to stop? And da 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 da. Well, I'm telling you now. Hush. And he's like, listen, you got to stop listening to what folks are saying. You have to. I don't care what they say. You got to. And she's just sitting there because he's giving yet another lecture. So out of all the lecturing and teaching a class and giving her a syllabus of what's going to happen this season, he says, nobody calls you a dog and expects you not to bark. Where does he come up with this wealth of knowledge? And she's like, well, I don't bark most of the time. It's just when enough is enough. Okay. Well, bark on, sister. Bark on. So in the next scene, Martell, he pulls up to the compound. And what is the compound? The compound is Lewis's gym / batting cage. And so, he strolls in there, what up, Big Lou? And Martell, what up? Giving dap and all that good stuff. And so in the confessional, Martell tells us that, what about the past year and a half or so, he has been going through it emotionally, with his family and his children and all that kind of stuff. So he loves to go to the gym. The gym is his self-care. I can dig it. He's saying that he's trying to balance and all this kind of stuff, and the kids are still trying to adjust and all this kind of stuff. And then he goes on to say that she's not doing what she's supposed to do. And I really want to know, what is it that she's not doing as far as what she's supposed to do? And we know who she is. He's talking about his ex-wife, Melody Hope. And so he says, he's not allowed to talk to his kids. She has 2 phones. And one he has access to, and she's not answering the phone. So, Lewis is giving him, the old divorced man's talk. It's hard being separated, and, you're dealing with anxiety, and you're dealing with, divorce and this, that, and the other. And, it's different seeing from, going from seeing your kids every day to every other day and blah, blah, blah. And the last time Martell and Melody saw each other, there was definitely some confrontation. That's every time they see each other, Lewis. Let's not act like, this is brand new. And so then Lewis, he starts to go into the Melody stepping out. And Martell, he's talking about some, well, you've been stepping on me for 5 years, and it was in your song. You had it that you gave me 5 years, and then all the while you've been cheating on me for 5 years. And Martell just does not want to accept the fact that what he did was wrong. He just doesn't want to. He's always playing tit for tat. She did this and she did that and da 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 da. I'm not going to take accountability. That's what he might as well say. I'm not taking accountability for what I did in our marriage. So Martell says, he refuses to accept the label as the bad guy. Martell, you've been refuting that label since the beginning. I always tried to justify what you did, and your justification was terrible. So then Lewis, he thanks Martell for having his back at the reunion. And Martell is just not understanding why they came at Lewis and Tiffany so hard. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm trying to figure out what happened. Are we friends? Are we enemies? Everybody understands why they came at Tiffany and Lewis so hard. because we all know what happened. They showed the flashback to the reunion and how Martell is like, you ain't transparent, you ain't transparent, you ain't everybody ain't transparent. I'm like, did we just have an Oprah moment on the OWN network? Like how I did that. But anyway, if you're on a reality show, chances are you are going to be transparent, whether you say something about it or not. If Marceau were to sit up here and read your marriage and tell you this, that, and the other, you'd probably have a problem with it too. So it's like, don't do something to somebody else that you're not willing for them to do to you, if that makes sense. So then they start talking about the photo that Marceau had posted, and they're like, man, I just can't believe that the brother did this to his brother. Martell's like, I know firsthand, had things been kept in the house, things wouldn't have ended so terribly with Melody and I and all this kind of stuff. And like, Martell, just please leave that out. Why do you always have to redirect everything about you and Melody? You talking about Maurice and Marcel right now. Talk about them. Lewis is like, I don't want to see another black couple, you know, go through this. But, at the same time, throwing gasoline on the fire instead of saying, it's not good, whatever analogy he tried to give. So, they're just in disbelief that Maurice is going through this due to the hand of his baby brother, who looks like his older brother, Marcel. So then in the next scene, we see Miss Kimmy, and she's playing with her dog Zeus. Maurice and Maurice Jr., I will not be calling him Monster for future references. Maurice Jr. with his grown self. Did y'all see him? And did you hear him talk? I was like, oh my gosh, who is this man? But, they're outside, and so Kimmy says, Zeus is my therapy. And Maurice is like, is he really? Like sounding jealous. And so she's like, well, dogs, they give unconditional love and all this kind of stuff. And Maurice, he trying to be slick. Well, so do husbands. And she's looking at him like, sir. And so Kimmy goes in to talk about, how, she needs this dog for the unconditional love and all that kind of stuff, given the fact that she's dealing with all this stuff that's going on social media. And so Kimmy, she brings up the photo. He's like, oh, it feel like it got hot out here. Can we sit down? She's like, what is it? Is this going to be a long conversation? He's like, it just feel like it just got hot out here all of a sudden. Meanwhile, he has on a turtleneck and a suit. So yeah, it probably did get a little hot. And Kimmy is like, I just don't understand what the point of the post was. And he interrupts her and he says, it's Marcel being funny. And she's like, well, what was funny? And he's like, well, he probably posted it so people could look and see, oh, Maurice was there and he lied. And I said I was there. Yeah. After the question was posed to you. Because on the scene, you lied at the reunion. So yeah, let's not act like, Marceau just did this to be funny. Marceau did it to prove a point. Okay? And Kimmy's thing is, y'all are not understanding the magnitude of how crazy it is making us all look. So y'all thinking it's fun and games and you don't want us to care and all this kind of stuff because you don't care. But we care, me and Tisha. So Kimmy says social media just went up in flames. I had friends calling me, sis, are you okay? And all this kind of stuff. Melody even called, and Maurice is like, Melody? Oh. Yeah. Like, what the heck? And she's like, what it all boils down to is is this story made up? And so Kimmy says, there was a time where you told me if I asked you a direct question that you would never lie. And so here it is. Did you sleep with the linebacker? And so then he's getting ready to explain, like the Scott brothers do, give a lecture. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad Kimmy stopped him. She said, I don't want no hemming and hawing. Yes or no? Don't give me no lecture. Don't give me no Bible verse. Don't give me a sermon. Don't give me a synopsis. Don't give me nothing. Yes or no? And I really wish Tisha would do the same thing. Scott brothers, they will get in the car and drive from Huntsville to Georgia, take a plane to New York, hit Illinois, go to Michigan, come down here to LA, and then go from LA to San Francisco, come back to Huntsville, and still not give you a good answer. No, I haven't. No, never would. And he's like, I need you to think about the story. I would never date a linebacker and all that kind of stuff. I'm not getting ready to body shame. I'm not trying to body shame, I should say. But Kiowa, his ex-wife, she was pretty stocky. And is no shade to her at all. Because Kiowa is a very pretty woman. But let's not act like Kiowa was this little petite thing. Kiowa was pretty stacked, top heavy, as the old folks used to say. So I don't know about that, Maurice. Kimmy is explaining this to Marcel or Maurice, all these M's. Kimmy's explaining it to Maurice, and this Negro had the nerve to try to flip the script on Kimmy and say, well, I feel like, if this is what you really feel, you need to reach out to your sister. As the big sister, you need to reach out to your sister and, really, check on her and see. I'm like, no, this nigga didn't. No, he did not. Try to flip this script, and Kimmy called it. I'm so glad. Thank you, Kimmy. She said, you have a way of diverting the conversation. I'm like, thank you, Kimmy. We were not, even though it's brought up in the conversation, that is not the basis of this conversation. Kimmy said, well, me and Tisha got going on. We got this. I got this. You don't have to worry about that. And he's like, trying to get me to care about something that I don't care about, and da 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 da, and I just don't give a F. And Kimmy's like, with all that you just said, you need to. So then we enter into a studio, and it looks very nice. I was thoroughly impressed by it. I heard some singing. I was kind of interrupted by some singing, and I'm like, who is that singing? They pan over, and it is none other than Destiny. I don't ever remember not one time, unless I missed it, Destiny mentioning that she was into singing and have done recordings and stuff. But whatever. But all I'm going to say is, Destiny, no ma'am. She was glad that Tisha was able to come through. Their friendship has grown over the past year. So then they sit down and, they chit chat, and Destiny informs Tisha and us that after her relationship or her marriage with her husband, ex-husband, LeBrick, whatever his name is, I don't like that name, so I'll just call him LB. She had to go on public assistance. And she went through her life savings and her 401k plans, and she went from taking care of her father to now having to ask him for money, and it's just been a lot on Miss Destiny. And I think we all had the same reaction that Tisha had. She was thoroughly surprised, and so were we. I mean, for LB to have this successful chicken business or restaurant, and you are not assisting, are you not assisting with your ex-wife, with your child, for your child or anything like that? I mean, what's going on with that? Why should your ex-wife have to struggle taking care of your child? That's a little something, a little tidbit that we did not know about Destiny. And, she's saying this music venture is, opening up a lot for her. Now, I hope she's not doing this because, Melody was doing the same thing. And so Destiny is thanking the Lord and giving praise to God, which as she should, praising him that, she is able to pay her bills. Tisha asks Destiny, so how has your friends taken this, this new venture that you're going into with music, And Destiny says, a lot of my friends, they haven't heard any of my music. Miss Melody haven't heard from her or anything, and so Tisha is just shocked. And she's like, I would imagine y'all would have this in common. Y'all both in music and you're both newly divorced. And Destiny is like, well, she doesn't come around as often. We don't talk. And she has placed a distance between us. And I'm just, I'm going to respect the distance that she has created between us. So Tisha is like, wow, that is crazy. You haven't talked to her? You haven't heard from her or anything? And Destiny is like, yeah, I have talked to her. I have heard from her. But, after everything that happened in Los Angeles, and what she means by Los Angeles, meaning at the reunion, they were in the hotel room. Destiny and Tisha were in her hotel room. And she doesn't know. She thinks Melody was listening. She did not know that Melody's room was right next to hers. Destiny is saying, everything that we conversed about was talked about on stage, in front of the world. So it wasn't nothing new that Melody had heard, unless it was something that I missed or you missed or something. That's what we were talking about. She asked Melody, why did you think we were talking about you? I told you everything. I just told you everything that I said to Tisha. And Melody's thing is, it's not what you said, but it was who you were saying it to. And Destiny's like, huh? She's like, it's the fact that you were talking to my enemy. And Tisha is just like, what? I didn't even know we were enemies. And see, Tisha, in her book, she's like, we're cool. I don't know. And Destiny's like, well, yeah, you were just at her house and all that kind of stuff. And Destiny also says, Melody told her I would never interfere with you all being friends. And so Destiny notices a consistent pattern with Miss Melody Holt that, a lot of her friendships end this specific way. And she's kind of shocked that it happened to her. I'm like, well, if you know this is a pattern that Miss Melody Holt has, why are you shocked? If anything, you should have been on guard. So in the next scene, we have Miss Melody Holt. Finally, we get to see her looking very pretty. And she has invited Miss Kimmy to a charcuterie board class, instructional, I don't even know if that's a word. They were making charcuterie boards. And she wants to sit down with Miss Kimmy, who is also looking very pretty, about everything that Marceau has posted. And so Melody, she's like, "Thank you for coming out, Kimmy. You look so good and refreshed." And Miss Kimmy is like, "Well, I got a dog." And "You did? Oh, I remember when the other one died." And "Oh, praise the Lord." And, just, being Miss Melody Hope, you know. We all know where the men went. They went to Atlanta. So, like, what were you trying to insinuate, Mr. Marceau? And Maurice and I, we were together. So I mean, and we had bought a house and everything right before we met the Hopes. Kimmy believes her husband. She believes her husband. And Melody is like, "Well, I believe my husband too. I know that Maurice is not Martell, but I believe my husband too. And look what he got me. So my motto for 2022 is trust your intuition." I feel you, but Miss Melody might be a little jaded. We can't say that all men cheat. And I understand, you also can't be naive when it comes to people. You know, for me, my motto is I never put anything past anybody. And so Melody is like, well, what would happen if he cheated? And basically, Kimmy was like, "Listen, after August 2018, that will be it. It's a deal breaker for me." To her, it may not have been considered cheating because they were only dating. But I feel like, I don't know, you all were together for such a long time. And you said you just bought a house at the time. What are we dating for? What's the end game? The end game is marriage. And so Kimmy is like, "Well, even for Tisha, I mean, I just don't understand it." And then Melody jumps in and she says, "Well, have you talked to Tisha?" And she was like, "Well, I've talked to her and everything." And she says she doesn't read the comments and, she didn't read all of that stuff. And this cracked me up. Melody is rolling her eyes, still putting her little charcuterie board together and eating at the same time. And Kimmy is like, "Now, why did you do that? Why are you doing that?" She is like, "She reads the comments." Melody was like, "She reads the comments," because she was commenting on the comments. And Kimmy is like, "Oh, see, I didn't see all that." She was like, "Yeah, she was. She was in there, had this big blow up and talking about this girl is trying to destroy my marriage and all this kind of stuff." So yeah, Melody ain't here for it. So this right here is why Tisha is now the enemy yet again. And so Melody goes on to tell Kimmy about what happened with Destiny and Tisha at the hotel in Los Angeles. And she says that she hears Tisha loud and clear saying, "Yeah, because Melody is a Scorpio." Melody, do you have something against Scorpios? I mean, are you a Scorpio? Would you have rather have been a Pisces or a Sagittarius? I mean, maybe you don't like being a Scorpio or something. You got a real problem with that. She goes to the room and she tells them, "You might want to keep it down because we can hear you all the way down the hallway." No, Melody, you're right next door. So you heard her through the room, through the wall. They were back in Huntsville and she and Destiny went to brunch, and she says that Destiny admitted that Destiny was talking ish about her. And according to Destiny, no, she wasn't. She was basically talking about everything that happened on the reunion show. So then Melody invites Kimmy to a pajama slumber party that she's having. And, she's telling her, "Yeah, I'm going to order some cute matching black pajamas. And you're going to look real cute in your pajamas and everything like that. And I'm inviting you. You coming? But Destiny and Tisha are not invited. So don't go around tell that. Don't do that." And Kimmy is like, well, who's coming? All my friends. Listen, that's a legitimate question. Because I'll be asking the same thing. I know you. I don't know everybody that you know. I want to know too. Who all gonna be there? And then she's like, well, who's gonna be there? Since the friends that I know are not coming. And Melody says, well, Tiffany gonna be there. And Kimmy is like, huh, okay. So in the next scene, we get to see another one of Marceau and Maurice's brothers named Micah. I think he was on the last season. But anyway, they meet up at his house with his wife, and they want to smooth things over with the Marceau and Maurice. As soon as Maurice and Kimmy get there, they sit down. It's time to eat, and so they're getting on Marceau. The brother Micah said that Marceau, he be breaking up dishes and keep kicking up dust, giving his mother F and all that kind of stuff. And then Maurice is always talking about how Marceau is always late. And, he says, I'm tired of everybody hating on Marceau. And so Maurice says in the confessional, Marceau, he never likes to be called out. And I can tell that about him. He's one of those people that, he can dish it but can't take it. So, Maurice says he doesn't like to be called out on anything, but he has no problem with calling out other people. So then Kimmy, straight to the point. So Marceau, what were you thinking about when you did the post? And Tisha, oh, well, straight to the post, huh? Yes. Let's get down and dirty. Let's get to it. And so Marceau goes on to say, well, I didn't know that you would be dragged into this. And they're like, how would you not know that? You posted about my husband being on the guys trip in Atlanta, and all these other girls were there. How did you think that it was not going to affect me as the wife? So Marceau finally answers, and he says, he didn't think that people would look at it and say, oh, you were a willing participant. They just thought that, he would say, oh, you were just being complicit. And Kimmy is like, whatever. These rumors have been going around a long time. How in the world did you think that people were going to look at it and not say, oh, well, he wasn't lying. He was there. He was there, and he was cheating. And Marceau is just like, well, I just didn't know, Kimmy. Just tell your brother, your big brother, that, I didn't appreciate you lying on national television. I didn't appreciate you lying. So now I'm going to have to show everybody, because I'm being dragged. Martell's being dragged as usual. And so Kimmy is explaining to him, listen, the collateral damage is not just being, everybody getting on you. It's affecting your boo. Because he's like, well, I always get it. Yeah, you always get it, and so does Tisha. And it just makes me, it makes me stand on my word when I say that Marceau is very selfish. He is very selfish in this man. He does not think about Tisha. He wants to tell her what to do and lecture her, like I've been saying this whole entire review. He doesn't see her as an equal partner. You understand what I'm saying? Because if he did, he wouldn't say, well, I get drugged, and I get talked about and all that kind of stuff, and not think about your wife. And what is really bothering me about Tisha, especially in this scene, is that she's really trying to put up this front that it does not matter, that it doesn't hurt her, to see all of this stuff. She's probably used to it by now. But I'm just saying, if it really does bother you, Tisha, say that. Like Melody said in the last scene, you read the comments, you comment on the comments. So it does bother you. Let your husband know. And don't let him overtalk you. Don't let him, try to interrupt you and try to school you on how you should feel. It's being displayed. You may not say it, but we see it. And I really feel that Kimmy and Maurice don't believe her. And you can tell by the genuine reaction that they're having, they're like, okay, you're talking a good game right now, but we can see it. We can see it. And so, Marceau and Tisha, they're sitting in their confessional, and Marceau is talking about something where, social media is like the school lunch tape. I could hold my own. I've been going through this since the 3rd grade. And so Tisha was like, well, I haven't been bullied since middle school. And then he goes, well, it's not bullying. Marceau, if your wife feels like she's been bullied, let her feel that. It could be the reason why Tisha does not want to express that she is feeling a certain way. Because then he's going to rebut every single time. He's going to come back and tell her that that's not how she should feel, or that's not what she feels. She said this in the confessional, the best thing for me to do is just to know my man. And yeah, that's stuff that he tells you to do. You should know me by now. You should know we've been together for this many years. You should know by now. Maurice is fed up with Marceau right about now. He's saying, listen, you did all of this. You didn't even consider the consequences of your actions. You need to be a little bit more responsible for what you post. And Maurice, what now, you being the good Samaritan? She's like, no. There's a lot of things that I know that I could post, but I don't. And so, Marceau is just being a butthole the way he loves to be. And he's like, getting in trouble with your wife is funny. Well, not my wife. Nigga, we trying to be serious. And you trying to play. You trying to play. And so Maurice is like, listen, remember last year you had 2 babies out of nowhere. Remember that? Now what if I would have posted a crib, and posted that you having all these babies on? Nah, Maurice, Reese, you hitting below the belt. You hitting below the belt. And Tisha on the other side. That's not funny, Maurice. That's not funny. And that you are validating Maurice's point. What you did to Maurice wasn't funny to him. And Marceau still did not understand. He still don't understand it. But that goes back to what I said. Maurice, you should have just told the truth in the first place. Oh boy, it takes special strength to be married to these brothers. I could only imagine the other brothers. So this season opener was okay. It wasn't too full of drama. It had enough drama for the first episode. I'm pretty sure we're going to get more into it as the season progresses. Love and Marriage Huntville is always going to be something. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.